Hi Peter, I love your channel and all you do. So here's my story from 2020. My story is probably one that will help newbies heading out to Thailand for the first time, as this story is about my first time there in January 2020. I did quite a bit of research before I went in terms of the bar scene and what to expect in terms of payment for aerobics and company, so I kind of knew what to expect. I arrived on the first evening at my hotel on Soi 4 in Bangkok at around 6 p.m. So full of excitement, I quickly unpacked, showered, changed, and off I went to visit the bars on Soi 4 with a view to heading to Nana Plaza. As I know that the girls in Hooters bars weren't pushy for drinks and weren't able to be bar fined, I decided to sit there to people watch with my first beer and ease myself into it slowly. The hostess greeted me with a big smile and she was a real 10, and I thought this month in Thailand is off to a great start. I sat at the front next to a guy who was English who was on his own too. We got chatting and amazingly it turned out we were from the same town near Northampton. He said he'd been going to Thailand for 10 years and offered to show me a few of the best bars in the area. We got in a tuk-tuk and despite being tourists, he knew the ropes and haggled the price from 300 baht down to 100 baht for a trip down to Soi Cowboy. That first encounter really taught me what the price of taxis, tuk-tuks and motorbikes should cost, and I made sure I always got the correct price from then on to not get ripped off. We headed along Soi Cowboy and the attention from the ladies was way more intense than I could have possibly imagined. It was like we were movie stars. Every single girl was calling out to us. We ended up in Crazy House, and if anyone who is listening to this story has been there, then they will be smiling at this right now. I'm sure one of the things I learned from that evening is that if you're good to the Mama-san and maybe buy them a drink, they will treat you amazingly. I said to the Mama-san that I will be in Bangkok and Pattaya for a month. I'd like to take different ladies each time I go in, if that's okay. She said, yes, of course it is. And I'm sure that on every visit, when she saw me walk in, the Mama-san would tell the girls this so that none of them would lose face if I took someone else the next time. I did this in every go-go bar I visited during my trip, and it meant that the girls all welcomed me, knowing that one of them is likely to be bar fined, but none lost face if I didn't choose them. It made for a very happy time for me and never any awkward moments with the girls who I bar fined but then didn't take for a second time. I know this is not everyone's idea of doing things when in a go-go bar, but it worked out well for me. Not only were the girls great for aerobics, but I had many really lovely meals with the girls I had bar fined. I used to say to them, take me somewhere that you really love to eat, and none of them ever took me to fancy restaurants with big price tags. They always took me to really lovely traditional Thai places where the food was excellent. On one occasion, I swear that she took me to her family's restaurant as the bill was ridiculously cheap at the end of it, and all of the waiters and chefs kept popping their head round the corner to see who she was with, so it made for a great evening. I split my trip between Bangkok and Pattaya, 2 weeks in each, and they were both very different, but in terms of the ladies, everything was the same. When in Pattaya, I spent most of my time in LK Metro and on Walking Street in either the go-go bars or the nightclubs. I was 40 at the time and so felt quite at home in the nightclubs. The feeling of being a movie star did not get any less when in Pattaya, and I was genuinely sad to be going home. At the end of my first month in Thailand, I met a total of 18 new loves of my lives, and every one of them were polite, sweet, and a pleasure to spend time with. I guess the moral of the story is that despite it being a fairy tale, and although a holiday is so much different to living there full time, the experience you have and the feeling you get when you are treated the way I was treated, I can see exactly why anyone would want to retire there. In a few short years, it wouldn't surprise me at all if, just like Peter, I will be playing the song I'm Leaving on a Jet Plane and heading to the land of smiles myself. Okay, so I'll just say one thing on that. When you actually live here, and I have lived in Pattaya previously for a couple of years, it kind of does grow old. I know you're probably sitting there thinking you're crazy, you must be too old. It's not. When you arrive for a holiday vacation for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, yeah, you're a kid in a candy store, there's bars, girls are screaming at you, and you can't get enough of it. eventually you have to leave after the 14 days or whenever, if you're lucky, maybe a bit longer, and you can't wait to get back the following year. But when you actually live here, it gets a little bit intense and a bit much, and you do actually get bored of it. And, I live in Bangkok, I don't live in Pattaya now, and I occasionally visit these kind of areas if I've got a friend who wants to go out and says, let's go down to Cowboy. I went out to Cowboy 2 nights ago on Friday. I did that little short, very quiet actually. And but when you actually live in an area, it's like if you get a job in a chocolate factory. The first day you think you've died and gone to heaven, right? But after 1 week of stuffing your face with chocolate, you don't think you're in heaven anymore. Okay, right, we're going to go into our final story for this Saturday. I'm a big fan of the channel. I know you are running short of stories, so I thought I'd give you something back to you and your viewing community. Apologies, but English isn't my first language. I hope this story reads okay. I had a colleague proofread it. This isn't a typical story, and unfortunately it's quite short, as there is nothing much that I can really add to it. The story took place in December 2019. It was a Saturday night and the bars and clubs were packed. This was obviously pre-COVID. I was mid-30s at the time. I worked out daily and never had any issues getting female company, whether it be Thai university girls or the odd freebie from a bar or go-go spinners. On this occasion, I was dating a girl who worked in Hooters. Despite her good looks, she was an extremely jealous individual and would regularly turn up at my hotel room or call me demanding to know what I was doing. Taking a girl that night or any night in Lower Sukhumvit was not an option. On this particular evening, I was drinking alone. I spent the night at Soy Cowboy getting drunk and then jumped into a taxi home. Before I knew it, I was hurtling down Sukhumvit Road en route to Mix nightclub. For those that don't know, Mix was a popular freelancer spot in the basement of the Intercontinental Hotel. The taxi drivers got around 200 to 300 baht commission for taking them for Farang and Thais there, so it was a very lucrative for them. I'm sure my driver managed to persuade me to grab a nightcap while he got money for a couple of bottles of Leo. Anyway, it was around midnight. I entered Mix alone. The place was filling up, but at this stage was relatively quiet for a Saturday night. As the night progressed, I worked the dance floor talking to foreign backpackers, Thai girls, freelancers, you name it. Just enjoying the beers and the music. It was a good vibe, and despite there being 500 people in the place, by the time 2 a.m. had come, I must have spoken to most of the groups. Dancing, sharing drinks, etc., generally being sociable, smiling, joking and having fun. I went to the bar to get a drink and I noticed a blonde girl to my left. She was stunning, slim, massive, natural assets, you know the type. I guessed Russian, and this was soon to be confirmed. I also assumed that she was probably looking for money. Looking at the length of her dress, it was obvious that it was not her first rodeo. A minute or so later, while standing at the bar, I felt someone grab my bottom. I turned round and it was her. She was smiling all over her face. I explained that while I thought she was stunning, that I was not on the lookout for some company, and I moved on. A few minutes later, she returned and started following me around the edge of the dance floor. She then approached and asked if I wanted to join her and share a bottle that she had just opened. I looked over at a table and she was sitting with 3 or 4 large, scary bouncer type guys and a few girls in the roped off VIP section. I passed, but she was insistent and grabbed my hand, leading me to the VIP section. I sat down with her, and over the next 20 minutes or so, the guys were being really friendly. They were drinking expensive champagne, but happy to share. I must have had 2 or 3 glasses with them, and they were fairly inquisitive and not threatening at all. They actually seemed like nice guys. Was I mistaken? Perhaps this girl was genuinely interested in me after all. The Russian girl was now cuddling into me and getting quite close. I was still a little worried, as the guys were massive, but they seemed nice enough, so I continued to sit and drink with them. The attention soon turned to me. The guys were trying to pair me off with the girl, but to be honest, I was pretty drunk by now and I wanted nothing to do with it. What I thought was a Russian money girl, not standing my current girlfriend, likely had eyes and ears in Minsk on a Saturday night for whatever reason. I decided to tell the Russian girl that I was gay, and while she was beautiful, I was simply not interested. I've got no idea why, but it's been a tactic that I've used in certain go-go bars previously if I didn't want female attention. It's actually saved me lots of hassle in the past. Fast forward a few more minutes and I get up to go to the dance floor. One of the Russian guys also stands up and follows me. As we approach the dance floor, he asks if I want another drink. I say yes, and we head through to this quiet, almost piano-style bar away from the main area. We soon get a drink from the bartender and start talking and sipping our cocktails. Well, what happened next came as a real shock. This guy, who looked like an MMA fighter crossed with the Russian mafia, I couldn't believe it. He made a pass at me, a full-on kiss on the lips with his mouth open. To say I was shocked was an understatement. What was happening? I moved my head away, apologised and quickly mumbled something. I think he got the hint immediately, looked a bit embarrassed and left the bar area extremely fast. I stood there in shock for a few seconds and then quickly regained my composure. While he was heading out the stage door right, I was leaving stage door left. I got a taxi straight to my girlfriend's condo, and let's just say the aerobics were a bit more intense that particular evening. Almost like I had something to prove. I haven't been back to Minsk since that night, and the Hooters girl is now living in the USA. Hope you enjoyed that strange tale. Like I said, it's not your usual type of story.